Welcome. I am Steve Altman. I unexpectedly became president of the Antrim Historical Society a year ago. Unusual things happen to you when you become the president of the Historical Society. For example, even generous donors are not completely sure of your identity. And I have a story to tell. Priscilla Hurlin was interested very generously in giving to the Antrim Historical Society some cookware from Governor Goodall. It's good that she's not here because I'm telling this story. She's right there. She called Alice May Flanders, who better, and asked who is the president of the Antrim Historical Society. Alice May said Steve Ullman, and Priscilla Hurlin's response was, "Isn't he a little boy?" So there are burdens. I just want to update you on upcoming events. September 19th, Saturday, Home and Harvest. Once again, Antrim Historical Society will offer its world-famous apple crisp. And we, combined with this low-cal, low-fat delicacy, will be the sale of various items. For instance, the Don Dunlap book on cabinet making, parades and promenades, and of course the much coveted, often copied but never equaled Antrim Historical Society tote bag. So that's on the 19th of September. We have been lucky and we've gotten 2 grants from the New Hampshire Humanities Council. And on October 18th, Ronald and Grace Yeager are going to come and talk about the history of the Congregational Church in New Hampshire and in New England. And you can record the Patriots game. It's going to be okay. And then on November 19th, we again have we were lucky enough to win a grant from the New Hampshire Humanities Council. And Joe Radner, who's an expert on family history, on recording family history, is going to be with us. That will be a nighttime meeting. We're hoping to get participation by Antrim schools. And I really want to thank Kathy Wasserlus, who's been the Energizer Bunny on this particular project. It's wonderful to have her on board. Now on to an introduction of the speaker. And Charles, some of what I'm about to say is true. Antrim families are surprisingly intertwined. Yeah. For instance, this is, I believe, Charles Henry Butterfield, the son of Brian Goodwin Butterfield. Byron. Okay. I'll start again. And your grandmother was Annie Ida Goodwin. Now, surprisingly, my maternal grandmother had the last name of Goodwin. Now, she died before my mother was 3, but this grandmother also had roots in the Maritime provinces. So, strange intertwining. Only in America could an Ullman and a Butterfield potentially be related. So it's a beautiful thing. In 1800, Amos Parmenter came up from Framingham, Massachusetts, and he bought 25 acres of land at the site of what we know today as the Butterfield Farm. Subsequent years, Parmenter added to his holdings, and in 1827, he built a brick house. Charles's book, which is available, and I hope, and he's willing to autograph it, I'm sure, focuses on the evolution of this family homestead. Now, Charles has accomplished a great deal during adulthood, and I'll point out some of his accomplishments in a minute. No, I'm only halfway through the introduction. He also, however, displayed masterful self-control even as a lad. According to Barbara Butterfield Carl's book, Growing Up on the Butterfield Farm, his father loved to tell the following story, and I will quote. Because of some minor misdemeanor, Charles was put over his father's knee and spanked. There was no crying. I repeat, there was no crying. When it was finished, Charles got to his feet, heaved a tremendous sigh, and said, "Oh dear," which I guess is as much of an exclamation. During his high school years, he paid particular attention to his grandmother, making her later years enjoyable, and he spent evenings with her, playing Chinese checkers and also sorting and labeling family pictures. The sorting and labeling of family pictures might well have predicted his later works on Butterfield family history. The Butterfields were great friends with the Coy family, perhaps you've heard of them, who in the 1920s lived across Clinton Road from the Congregational Church that we now call the Stone Church. So close were these families that at the age of 5, Barbara Butterfield Carl received a proposal of marriage from also 5-year-old Theodore Duty Coy. I take Duty Coy to be Skeezy Coy's brother. What is with the Coys and these names? Skeezy, Duty, and I don't understand.
They made up their mind what to name the baby, so they got a nickname before they
Okay, so apparently the Coy.
Duty was Dusenberry, so Duty was short for Dusenberry.
This is an explanation we'll record in the archives. And of course, Mr. Coy lived in Antrim Center, and he was a noted contractor in partnership with one Henry Pratt. And I think some of you even know a Pratt or two. Our speaker, Charles, almost done, Charles, is a trained biologist who's focused in his latest book on changing land use patterns in the Monadnock region. If you've read the Limerick, you know what a wonderful storytelling touch that Charles has. He has an impressive scholarship record. He's published an academic book entitled Values and Biology, as well as articles in the journals of the American Chemical Society and the National Association of Biology Teachers. And now, an aside. What is with people who grow up between Clinton Village and Antrim Center and the discipline of chemistry? What is going on in that neighborhood? Here is what I find particularly paradoxical about Charles's intellectual pursuits. He is both a natural scientist and a published poet. He holds graduate degrees in biology teaching from American University and an English graduate degree from the renowned Middlebury Breadloaf School of English. Paradoxical or not, we're at the end, we are delighted to welcome back one of Antrim's most accomplished progenies, Charles Butterfield.
Thank you, Steve. Well, it's wonderful to see some faces here that I know and who know me. But it's also very nice to see a lot of faces that I don't know. And that's understandable since I moved away from Antrim 60 years ago. But as my wife Nancy will tell you, Antrim is home to me, even though there have been a lot of changes in this town since I graduated from Antrim High School in 1950. And I'm delighted to be here to tell you a little bit about what my latest project has been at the farm. And I want to introduce a few people that you may not know. First of all, Sid Hall is the editor and publisher of Hubble Bush Books, most specifically, Seeking Parmenter. Where'd he go? And there he is.
I was somewhat prepared to make an introduction of Charles, but I don't need to now.
Oh, please, no more.
I do want to tell you about Hubble Bush Books, just very briefly. We are an independent publisher located over in Brookline, New Hampshire, in the Nashua area. And we do primarily literary books, a lot of poetry. We publish the Hubble Bush Granite State Poetry Series, which publishes our recent poet laureates and many other great New Hampshire poets. We publish some New England regional books. And we've been giving out bookmarks to everybody, and they're really good bookmarks. They're very strong and last forever. So I urge you all to go to the hubblebush.com website and look at the other books we do. We have quite a variety of books. And I'm also going to just pass around this clipboard if you're interested in signing up for our monthly newsletter. It's very entertaining, humorous articles about publishing, about books, articles about Charles, etc. And I think you'd really enjoy it. So if you just put your name and email on here, we'll sign you up for the newsletter. Also, the books are for sale here, as you know. The normal price is $15.95, but this month on our website and here for this event, we're selling them for $11. So pick up half a dozen to give to your friends. They're great presents, they really are. And I'll just say one other thing. You know, as I said, we're a publisher of a lot of literary works primarily. I've always been very interested in the concept of place. And when Charles' book came along to us, it combined the literary, lyrical part of writing that we're very interested in with this sense of place and history in such a beautiful way that we just fell for it. So, thank you. And this is Kirsty Walker, who's our marketing director at Hubble Bush.
I'd also like you to meet Arthur Westing, and his wife who came over from Putney, Vermont. Arthur has written a very nice blurb that appears in the front of the book, and has also completed a review for the newspaper. Chuck McLean. Chuck McLean, the younger. There's the older Chuck McLean and the younger, who is the artist. And, my novelist friend, Suzanne de Courcy, showed up from Brookline, Vermont.
Oh.
I don't need to introduce Lyman Gilmore and Dick Winslow to you, I know, but I want to say thank you to both of them for including some of the short essays that I've written taken from the book. And I want to say how much I appreciate Steve Ullman and the Antrim Historical Society for inviting me and for hosting this book launch party. What I propose to do now is to show you a few slides of places featured in the book and tell you a little bit of what I've been up to over the last few years. Then I will be happy to hear your comments and try to answer any questions. And then while we are enjoying Joyce's and Margie's and Nancy's refreshments, and probably many other people, I'll be happy to sign books, and as long as Chuck is here, he's on his way to Wyoming today, he will also sign the books if you want him to. I want to begin by saying that there is nothing special about the history of Butterfield Farm, or what I refer to as the Parmenter place, except for the fact that it has been in the hands of the descendants of Amos Parmenter for over 200 years. Though not long ago I visited a farm over in Walpole, New Hampshire that has been an active farm in the same family for 9 generations. So Butterfield Farm is not all that special. But I chose to write about it, study it and write about it because it is typical of what has happened to farms around here and elsewhere for the last 60 or 70 years. And it's because it is typical that I wanted to call attention to it. We're very familiar with seeing old farms grow up to woods, but we don't spend very much time thinking about the history that has taken place while that process is going on. And I wanted to do that for this small place that I'm pretty familiar with. I should say, I don't think Steve